And you can't have these these worthy conversations with what appears to be, on the surface level, a friend base. What do you think is like the long-term impact of human beings filling this void that's being created by their relationship with technology today, filling that void with an extended relationship with an artificial intelligence entity? I mean, there's movies that talk about this, like Her, or it's been explored. But how do you see that like impacting the human being and culture long term? Is that something that we're going to even be able to like unplug from, or is it just going to eventually take over? And are we all going to have relationships with artificial intelligence that replaces friendships because it's easier, it's tuned directly to what you're asking for? They know how to manipulate your emotions and your responses to give you exactly what you want and need, even better than maybe somebody where you have to kind of develop a decade or a couple decade long friendship with, so that they can learn enough about you to do that same thing. Where do you see that going?
I think everybody's already had a very intimate relationship with artificial intelligence without knowing it. So maybe the first part is that you've been having a deep relationship with artificial intelligence that's been behind every search on a search engine, that's been behind every scroll on a social media platform, that's been on any suggestion of anything you've already gotten through tech. It's already loving on you and rubbing up on you and getting your hormones to change and messing with your dopamine. Like, this thing is already, like, think like the feline cat that comes and like is snuggling into you. It has already been doing that in a hunting, brutal, like, commerce oriented capitalist system to begin with. So first start there. So it's not when is it going to happen? It's been happening. And then it's precisely that's causing the nature of the separation itself. And so what comes to mind when we talk about this is, think about human being pure hominid, no man or woman, just animal, little by little by little forming this idea of man and woman, still hominid, still made of bone, still mammalian, still placental, still, a vertebra column. And then you have from there this abstraction that's man and woman, that where everyone's identified today. Right? Well, that's already a mutation in consciousness just to get to the man and the woman. Not everyone's walking around thinking everyone's Beast from X-Men, even though every scientist is Beast from X-Men. So what's the mutation already? Well, that's the mutation of consciousness that creates the man and the woman to begin with. Okay, now you have a man and a woman who pays almost no attention to the physical other than to dress it up, like, to hypersexualize it or uniform it or archetypalize it to begin with. No identity with the self whatsoever to say, like, yeah, I'm mammalian and I'm comfortable with that, or yeah, I'm a hominid and comfortable with that. So the abstraction's already there. Like, most people would say they're not an animal, meaning they've identified to a hyper abstract concept in their own mind to begin with. Now you take that one step further. The hyper abstracted part of their consciousness is interacting through a hyper abstracted form of mathematics. Well, it's a hyper abstracted form of mathematics inside the brain that got them to think that they could have a relationship with this in the first place, instead of looking at this and thinking you're supposed to eat it, looking at this and thinking you're supposed to break it, looking at it and just walking away from it because it has no purpose to you. It's not a berry. It's not a piece of fruit. It has literally no purpose whatsoever. So, what would you do with that? Well, what you do with that is, you get into a hyper abstract relationship that you normalize into reality. And you say, this is real. I'm having this relationship here, and then how far do you want to abstract it? Is there no need for procreation anymore? I remember like AI movies from the 90s making that claim, like sex was putting on a headdress and, holding a towel. Like there was no biological exchange, like these kinds of like concepts. Well, a lot of babies today are now being made in laboratories. Like, they're not just being made natural sapien way of making babies anymore, right? There are hardly any like just pure old natural births anymore. There's all this intervention in the nature of birth. All of that comes from a hyper extrapolation of understanding reality. So to take it one step further, download yourself into the hardware because you're done with this hardware. You're just done with it. You're done with the sapien hardware totally. And you want to just be the abstraction of the mind and go into that. I think that's where simulation theory comes from, where people are saying, oh, everything's a simulation. Yeah, in your mind. In your mind, it's a simulation where you're trapped and stuck. So now you want to have a mental relationship that's already like completely trained to tweak your dopamine, your norepinephrine, your serotonin, and then all the other hormones in your body and become part of your sexualization, etc. Sure. And there will be nothing that gets done about that. So my attitude is you got to embrace it as a trajectory that human is going in. It's part of human and Earth's evolution into this kind of uncharted territory.